Hi, I'm Kelly Rowlett-Presgrave. I'm president and CEO of Work With Your Hands, and we are so proud to be a sponsor of Power Women of the Trades podcast. You can reach us at workwithyourhands.com. Kelly at workwithyourhands.com is my email.
Chirp is the ultimate automation toolbox for home service businesses. Chirp helps you capture more leads, connect faster, close more deals, and create customers that will buy from you over and over again. Using text message, email, and ringless voicemail automation, with Chirp, you can maintain perfect follow-up throughout the entire customer journey. Learn more about how to transform your customer experience on chirp.com today. CHIIRP.
This episode is also brought to you by Relentless Digital Marketing. More information on them in the show notes. Thank you for being a sponsor. We appreciate you.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started. In this episode, Cassie and Leslie sit down with Power Women of the Trades Jackie Aubel, the Senior Content Marketing Manager at ServiceTitan. In this episode, the trio will get candid about the unspoken stress of entrepreneurship, how to separate your marriage from your business partnership, and the best, most innovative aspects of ServiceTitan. Plus, Jackie spills the tea on ServiceTitan's newly announced strategic partnerships with Scorpion and Contractor Commerce. Back to our hosts.
So, Jackie, we're super excited to have you on, though. So I'm excited because I've been on your podcast.
You both have been on my podcast.
Yeah. Right. And I want to know more about you. So, I am intrigued because I feel like I know two Jackies.
Yeah, you do.
A lot.
Because we follow personal Jackie on TikTok.
On TikTok. So we'll leave that. You got to go find that. But we love that. But how did you end up? Because I think, do I know this correctly, that you have a trades family?
Yeah. My dad's a carpenter, and he had his own business in the 90s that didn't go as well as he thought it would.
Did he work with home builders?
I'm not sure. It was a franchise called Furniture Medic.
Okay.
And yeah, he just kind of didn't get the support he needed, but my mom was his CSR dispatcher and he would be out there working, and then he ended up joining the union. And this was also in New York City too.
Okay.
Oh, you're from New York.
Mm-hmm. I'm from Flushing, Queens, like The Nanny, if you watch that show.
Oh my
love
gosh.
that.
I want to get my nose like that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so then, but you have an entertainment background?
I do have an entertainment background.
I'm learning this. What kind of
I have an
entertainment?
IMDb page. You can find me.
Oh,
Stop it right now.
Yeah, I
What
do.
was it? Okay, so what was your gig?
So when this is the story because I'm multifaceted.
I
And
love
it's become
this about
even
you.
more multifaceted
Okay.
in the last few years. So I went to school for psychology, was going to become a counselor, and in the year in between my undergrad and graduate school, I started working at a tech company, which, that makes sense. And I also started getting involved in New York City's improv scene. There's a very popular theater there called Upright Citizens Brigade that was founded by Amy Poehler, Matt Walsh.
Oh,
some
my
of
goodness.
I know Aziz Ansari's gone through there, a bunch of really well-known comics. So I did improv there, and I started putting on my own improv shows. And at the time, and I got into grad school, and I knew I couldn't do three things at once. So it was, and my sister, who was a few years younger than me, said, okay, well, you can work at tech for some money, work at comedy for no money, or go to school for negative money. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do comedy and tech. So I got really into the comedy scene. I started doing stand-up too. I've actually done, because I came up in New York, I've done shows with I did shows with Michelle Wolf. I've seen some really impressive people.
Wow.
So I moved to LA to pursue being a comedy writer, and I was on a sketch team that performed every month there. I was in a couple shorts. That's where you'll find my IMDb page. I did a bit of voiceover work. I had my own comedy podcast called Guilty Pleasure that had minimal success. And I was always working in tech in the background because I needed to fund my endeavors. Mm-hmm. And I was doing comedy I was burning myself out for maybe like 7-8 years. And this is a true story. February 2020, I said, this is my last show for a while. I'm going to take a break. And then the pandemic hit, which...
So you were still doing it while you were working at ServiceTitan?
Yeah. Yeah, ServiceTitan was plan B.
Oh my
Respectfully.
goodness.
Respectfully, ServiceTitan.
Respectfully, ServiceTitan was plan B.
Well, that's why you're like the perfect fit to be the host.
Well, I got so...
Because you were comfortable already.
Yeah, I got so lucky because my bosses at ServiceTitan knew I had the comedy podcast, and they were like, would you like to do one for ServiceTitan? And I was like, I
A
guess.
comedy podcast for ServiceTitan is what we need.
I'd try. And
Do you have to hold yourself back when you're talking to people because you're probably really clever and witty, and you're like, I can't say that.
I guarantee,
Wrong podcast.
Especially following your TikTok, I guarantee you.
I know. What's going on in your head, really?
Yeah, I sometimes let it slip every once in a while.
You should let it slip.
I had a guy on, I just recorded an episode the other day, and this guy was talking about MapQuest and BlackBerry, and I'm like, wow, this is a podcast.
Oh my gosh.
This is a podcast sponsored by
Throwback.
ServiceTitan. So thank you for keeping us up to date with the latest technology. Really
Throwback to
appreciate it.
MapQuest.
I used to sell Blackberries at Best Buy. That was like previous, and it's so funny.
I used to sell them at Singular Wireless. Remember
it's
Singular Wireless?
Really?
Yeah.
Blackberries were the best, remember?
So
That was like the iPhone of the day.
It was.
If you were on your BlackBerry.
The bougie business people had the Blackberry.
So just to continue, so comedy stopped, went full in on ServiceTitan, started Toolbox for the Trades, which is ServiceTitan's podcast. I think we're up to like episode 160 now, which is crazy.
Amazing.
And then I decided to get my master's degree in marriage and family therapy, and I just got that in August of this year.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Brent, can you come to the stage? We're gonna have a counseling session really quick.
you can.
Our husbands are here.
What in the world?
Yeah.
So what's next with that?
I don't know.
No.
So
see.
ServiceTitan probably needs a marriage and therapy counselor.
That's
Absolutely.
probably true.
on deck.
Especially for all their husband and wife teams that you're interviewing on the
You know
on the
what?
pod.
It's so helpful because the kind of stuff I get into on Toolbox for the Trades. I mean, I come from a trade background, but
Right.
I'm not a tech. I talk more about the business, the
Yeah.
best practices, and I love talking about the husband-wife duos, which
Yeah.
you guys both have. So I got into it with you guys.
Right.
Just yesterday, I was at Women in HVAC, and I was talking to this husband-wife duo, and they were getting into it, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
Think about how much of this you want to share on the podcast.
Man.
What do you
We need our own support group, the husband and wife teams.
think-
Like it's for real.
No, it makes sense.
There's a whole other dynamic there that is hard to describe
Yeah.
unless you're in it.
So our PR team just pitched us to do a recording for husbands and wives for the news in Tulsa of working with your spouse. And I was like, I kept looking at Kaylee like, for the news? Like,
Are we sure?
Are we sure? Like, love him, love that, but are we sure for Valentine's Day? Just crack it. I'm like, this is interesting.
I have a question for you ladies, because I think about, so I'm not married, so I'm just a learner here, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just learning best practices when it comes to that.
So are we.
How do you even begin to separate that? Do you guys literally go time out, or do you go I'm your wife now, and now I'm your business partner? How do you do it?
Leslie and I have two very different answers of this.
We do.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Because you have to figure out what works for you. That's the best advice anyone can ever give. And I know I'm saying it, that's what someone else gave to me. But you have to do what works for you and not specifically because someone said to do it this way. Because Leslie,
Yeah. Well, and it changes in each season of your business.
Yes,
so
sure.
when we first started, you were talking about your mom was the CSR dispatcher. Our first hire when Brent was in a truck and I was on the phone was a CSR to get me off the phone, because I remember at that time when we began, we were already working with a coach, and I was like, I cannot work with this guy, talking about Brent. So we knew the first person we had to get was someone in between us. And since then, at different stages of our business, we're at a really good stage right now because of how we're growing and how we've been able to scale back. We find when there's an area of tension, it probably means there's some growth and some triggers there, but that means we need to get someone smarter than us in between us to delegate that out.
Yeah.
But it really has changed seasonally for us, because there's different pressures at different times in your business. And cash pressure is the scariest one because that infiltrates every area of your life.
I mean, financials, that's like the biggest stress
It is.
on a married couple. So I can't imagine it being
Yes.
like tripled when you're...
And you don't really get a break from it. But I would say he's sitting in front of me. I feel like we're at a really good spot right now. And it's probably because we've been beat down where we realize like we are on the same team with our business and we're on the same team in our marriage. We have to spend a lot of time in our marriage because it does create a lot of tension with the business, but just remembering you're on the same team. Our outcome, like we both want the same outcome, but how we get there is so totally different because we're different. And I think really anything in your business reveals things about you personally.
Sure.
And then it's just intensified in your marriage. So it's given us a lot of opportunity to grow personally because it's revealed a lot about ourselves.
Yeah, and that's something I say all the time when I counsel couples. I loved working with couples when I was doing my trainee hours. And I literally would be looking at these couples, and it's crazy being that third party, that objective party. And there were times I'd be like, you guys know you're on the same team, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know that you're rooting for the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, tell me about what is this, like, block you're having about giving it up or just, like, working on a compromise.
Yeah.
Because usually there's more ego in that. There's a lot of ego in that. And
There's
I'm
so much
sure
ego in
it
that.
goes to business too.
There is, for sure. And like for Oscar and I, there were a lot of people that used to say like, at home, you don't talk about this. Like we're on 24/7, you know what I mean? And that rule would never work for us.
Yeah.
I have to be able to like, okay, it's 7:30. Maybe I'm browning hamburger meat right now, ground beef, like for dinner, but I still need to talk to you about what happened today. And because I have to remember that like when I go to work and he goes to work, we both are working all day long.
Sure.
And we're not always working on the same things.
Yeah.
So if we come home and we both work somewhere else and we came home at 5:30, we would download our day to each other when we worked for different places, right? We would be like, well, today at work, so-and-so, blah, 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 you know, whatever. So whenever previously when we had taken advice of like, we're not supposed to talk about it or whatever, it was like, okay, but when am I going to say like, today was a shitty day?
Yeah.
You know? And it doesn't matter, even though because we didn't work on the same projects all day long today. Right. And then, you know, you still want to be able to download those things. Yeah. And so we just don't put rules. We don't put rules, but some people have to have rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
There just has to be. And then some days it's just like, bruh.
Let's just not talk about any of it.
We're done.
There's nothing left. There's not. Well, and I feel like, especially as you grow and you have different management in place, you're talking about it constantly all day long.
Sure.
I feel like we're on, you know, we do two meetings a day with our team, and it's at 9:30 and 4:30. It's to prepare, and then we're already talking all day long anyways, you know, because we operate in call by call, and it's like sometimes at night, even if we've had a really horrible day, we're like, we can't talk about it. We're dead inside today. Like tomorrow's a new day. You know what I mean? But really, it really depends on like the needs. It depends on the needs professionally and personally, and that can change day by day, at least
hour
for
by
us.
hour.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's great that you guys have been able to do it, and I totally agree. You have to go by your own pace and figure out what works for you.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is the story? Your story of Service Titan besides?
Sure.
What else? I mean, I know you do the podcast. Or do you have any other daily responsibilities, or do you get to do podcasts?
What's your official title?
My official title is Senior Content Marketing Manager at Service Titan. What the hell does that mean?
Okay, listen, I have to...
We were talking about that on the way.
We were literally talking about this on the way. Of her title is going to be something with senior or principal or advisor in it.
Do you watch Corporate Aaron on TikTok?
Oh, yeah. I love those corporate TikToks. I don't know if I know Corporate Aaron, but yes.
I'm going to have to send it to you.
We've got to sync up. We've got to make sure we're aligned.
We're circling back.
Circling back.
Shoot me in the face.
Yeah.
So I actually came on Service Titan in 2017 as the social media manager, and which was a fun experience because I was like, what do contractors look at on social media? Like, what do they do? Do they like memes?
It's evolved.
Yeah.
It has evolved.
Well, it was crazy. Well, what was really helpful for me was joining all the groups, like all of the the support groups, masterminds before Service Titan doing it way back in the day. I don't know if you guys had access.
What was it?
Service Titan Masterminds group was not originally owned by Service Titan. It was a customer started group. Yes.
Okay.
And so I used to like do that. And, social media is like a really finicky thing, especially at a startup. So it's really hard to prove ROI and pipeline from it. It's very much like a branded effort.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so knowing that, and I've worked for several startups that don't exist anymore, I knew that I had to have a job that was proving value to the company. So I started volunteering for anything I could get my hands on, content, email, all that stuff. I actually, one of my very first projects at ServiceTitan was a Women in the Trade Spotlight, and I featured Angie Snow before she was a customer.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, it was so fun. Now
That's
she's like,
awesome.
now she's a ServiceTitan principal industry advisor, and she's all over the place, and we love her.
We missed her here.
Yeah, I only saw her for like a hot second. She's a hot commodity.
Busy, yeah.
And then I tell this story very frankly. I kind of had the phrase like you have one foot out the door. I had 1 foot in the door at ServiceTitan. And then we had a leadership change literally in late 2019. They were like, you can podcast, we're going to have you do this. And you can also do webinars. So I think like what I do is really the non-written content. Like one of my VP was like, she should be like audio something. I'm like, just content manager is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I do the webinar and podcast. So if you are a ServiceTitan customer and you've joined a webinar, you've probably seen me.
That's right.
So I do both of those things. I'm the owner of both of those programs, and we're hopefully expanding both of those in the coming year. I'm really excited.
Oh.
Yes. So that's basically what I do. I've been there for 6.5 years though. So I have I'm employee number like 287.
You have
Wow.
the jersey?
Oh, I got the jersey.
Yeah.
Well, ServiceTitan has had a lot of amazing collaborations lately, especially this week on social media.
Oh, yes. Are we talking about the...
I don't know. Can we talk about any of the things we've been
If
seeing?
it's on ServiceTitan social media, I can talk
Well,
about
explain. It is. Okay, so explain to me what the partnership with Scorpion and then Contractor Commerce means.
it. Okay, so I'm going to give you exactly what I know, which clarification.
Because you already had the certified partners.
We already had certified partners.
Right.
So certified partners are essentially partners that are our official partners, and we vouch for them. We're like, these guys are legit. If you want to work with them in any capacity, we will vouch for them. Scorpion, to my knowledge, has taken over Marketing Suite, which was a product of Field Routes, which is an acquisition that we made. And so they're going to be the ones leading it. And so I believe Marketing Suite, to my knowledge, is more of a hands-on marketing support. So more of that one-to-one agency touch versus like Marketing Pro that's automated and like kind of do it yourself, if that makes sense.
So, okay, the Marketing Suite, was that, okay, like when you sign up for Marketing Pro and you have to pick your templates and all that, but a lot of people wanted someone to do it for them. Is that where Marketing Suite came in? And that's where Scorpion will fit in?
Yeah, and Marketing Suite,
Okay.
I believe, was part of Field Routes originally, which is one of our sister companies.
What is, I don't know what that is.
So Field Routes is a lawn and pest company.
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually just inherited a podcast from them, which I am now taking over. And we'll relaunch on March 12th is our target date. And then we also have Aspire as one of our sister companies, which is lawn and janitorial, or lawn and clean.
Interesting.
Yeah, the company's
Honestly,
growing. It's crazy.
not a bad idea to have someone take over or coordinate more the Marketing Pro stuff.
Yeah, I think
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks that have had success with marketing, but some people do it in-house, which is totally fine. And if you have that dedicated person to do it, all the power to you. But some businesses that are still kind of in that small to emerging area, it's helpful to partner with an agency if you just don't want to think about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Get it off my
It
desk.
can be rough. Yeah.
Okay, what about Contractor Commerce? How will that work?
I have no idea what that is.
That is where isn't it where you can purchase it online?
Yeah, it's like basically makes your website a store. And
Yes.
You can purchase equipment. You can purchase, you can go all the way through and get how much would it cost for this 3-ton system? And
A lot of
people use it as lead gen. So maybe it doesn't necessarily tell you the price at the end and those types of things. You can sell filters online.
Yes.
And so
It's almost like it's a Shopify
for
HVAC.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Of course, I'd probably that's probably not what they want me to say.
Definitely not what they want me to say.
Yeah.
I imagine that you can't possibly keep up with everything happening at ServiceTitan on a regular basis because.
But that was just this week that those two announcements came out.
There's so much always happening.
The pace at which we move is true. I feel like I've worked at ServiceTitan for 80 years. Like it is evolved. Everyone's always like, well, what are your goals this year?
This is what I look like before I started, and this is what I look like
the
now.
president photos?
Yes.
It's like at the start of their term, at the end of their term. And it's like, I have lived a life. Yeah, but no, it is really hard.
Most businesses' online presence is boring. And by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Heart Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
So people who know me, LOL, they are normally like, Cassie is a pretty vocal human being. There's no way that you didn't know that, right? I have a pretty, and if I support something, if I love something, I'm going to like give it my all. And so I become like an evangelist type of customer. And so I've become an evangelist for ServiceTitan because of what it's done for me and our business. And I was previously like a pretty big fan of another software before I moved.
A software that shall not be named.
Yeah, and that software, correct. That software served an excellent purpose for me and our company at that point.
Sure.
But we moved when we recognized that our business was moving in the direction that we needed ServiceTitan for. And so, but when I think about those two and the comparisons, the light years that ServiceTitan is ahead of everybody blows my mind.
Right.
Like the things that are coming out. Like I sat at Pantheon 2 Pantheons ago when they first started talking about AI, and everyone thought that was a sham and stupid. I remember leaving and people saying, that's stupid. One specific person was like, you don't even need that. And then in that year, everyone's like, oh, AI.
It's the hot new thing to sell,
and I'm like, bro, we were at Pantheon and they were talking about that, and you fools were saying that was stupid, and now look at you trying to create your own AI stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, ServiceTitan is so proactive.
Yeah.
I just don't know that any of these other people, the new ones that are coming around, I get it. It's great. I don't know how people can get ahead, like when ServiceTitan has the resources that they do.
I truly, it is so humbling. And like I said, I've worked for a couple startups, some that don't exist anymore. And the ferocity with which our founders and our C-suite go to break things and build cool stuff is mind-boggling. And it also keeps it really like entertaining. It is there is never a dull week, I will tell you. And I've just grown used to it. I feel like, you remember in Jaws, there's that like one guy in the corner who's like, I knew that shark. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like who's like the old weathered person that like knows what's coming. That's kind of how I am. Because sometimes people come into the new company and they're just like really like, they're not ready for that type of pace. Then I'm like, hold on to your butts. Truly, it's a wild ride.
And the fact that R and Vi are like so actively still involved with not just the staff of ServiceTitan, but the contractors, like, listen, I know that their boat could just like sail on and they could like go off into the sunset and just live whatever lavish life they wanted to. They can. They've paid their dues. They have a guarantee. Like, I don't need to think about their net worth, right? Like there is some
Google it now. No.
Right?
Let's find out. Let's talk about their net
But
worth.
they're still actively there. Like that speaks profoundly to me about how invested they are in the trades and helping us all continue to grow.
Do you think like the feedback that you get when you hear of other people coming from other CRMs, like Cassie was talking about, what I hear and what I know is the reporting is so much greater.
That's the biggest.
And the API, like with the open API, actually I don't know if it's fully open, you have to get permission, but you can do so many things, like how it has evolved from when we started to how we have it nailed down. We have it completely customized to how we track all of our stuff now, and it's wild.
Yeah, it's awesome. And especially if you're using Zapier, if you've got someone on your team who's like a Zap expert, you can do amazing
and
things
Slack.
with it. Oh, I love it.
I want to know what other partnerships are coming down the pipeline. That's what I want to know, because honestly, with AI, I can't imagine what they have going on or what they're going to be releasing.
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could just drop all of the hints. I mean, it's insane. Like the reach that ServiceTitan has at this point is mind-boggling. And to your point, Cassie, like I, as an internal employee, it's hard to keep up with all of the things that are happening. But you were talking before about the customer experience and like the dedication that Ara and Vahe have to our customers. I mean, I'm truly humbled by it. And again, I've worked with and been around a lot of tech CEOs. A lot of the stigma there is true. A lot of the stereotypes there are true, but they truly care. Like I was in a meeting with them actually this past week where they were like, we need to do this better. Like we need to think about it in a more, it was just about a certain initiative I was partnering with them on. And for me as an employee, like it means a lot to me because I want to work for a company that's actually making a difference. Right. And I feel like they're actually making a difference in the trades and they actually really care.
Well, I think it's impressive that we have a Facebook group and they let people say whatever they want and they don't delete the post.
No,
like there's definitely
that's important.
Yes, I think there's and people will, like, if there's an issue, but someone jumps right in is like, let me handle this for you.
Well, and I love...
They're not trying to censor anything.
Yeah, I really like that too.
They don't censor anything. They're not censoring anything, but also, like, I remember, so in the beginning of Masterminds, right, there was times that they were just...
In the
like,
beginning.
A complete...
I guess I wasn't part of that. I don't know.
There would be, like, a complete shit show going on in Masterminds. Like, everyone's losing their mind. Someone's losing their mind because they put a customer... Like, when you get to the root of it, it's just like, you let this ruin your day for nothing. But everyone's losing their mind. Then all these people are like, this happens to me too. And then I would screenshot these things and I would send them to my connections at ServiceTitan, and I would say, guys, we have to fix this. We have to fix this. Like, social media is so big. You have to get someone involved. I love now that there's actually a ServiceTitan poster, and now in Masterminds it says ServiceTitan.
And they'll message you on Facebook. They're like, we saw you commented on this. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
I love that. That's being proactive. That's paying attention. You know, I think ServiceTitan, from time to time with contractors, depending on where the contractor is in their business, can get a bad... I don't want to say bad rep because that's not what it is, but it's like, oh, it's so hard. Yeah, bro.
Well, it's so robust.
It's robust.
So literally you can tailor it and customize it because how you run reports might be completely different than how I need to run reports.
Exactly. And, you know, we had a couple prospects who visited the booth today or throughout the AHR. And the biggest piece of advice that I get, because within the podcast, within the webinar program, I talk to customers that are really successful for the most part. I'm usually not talking to customers that aren't having a good time, although I have, especially in my early social media days. And honestly, the biggest piece of advice I can give everyone listening to this right now, if you're on ServiceTitan, if you're on another platform, whatever, is if you have someone in your office dedicated to making that tool work, to being the champion of ServiceTitan, making sure that your service managers know how to use it, make sure that your inventory team knows how to use it if you're on inventory, like that will pay off in dividends.
I have to tell you a funny story about this. So last week we were in Costa Rica and Kelly, we were on a Johnstone trip, and Kelly is like one of our like number 3-4 employees, right? And she's like operations manager. She runs the business if Oscar and I are not there. But she went with us on this Johnstone trip. And we're laying by the pool, and we're in swimsuits. And I hear like work type stuff. And I look at her and I said, bro, are you on a Zoom call right now? And she goes, no, I'm doing a ServiceTitan training. And I'm like, but she is so active in making sure we know what we're doing in ServiceTitan. You have to have that person. And I got a picture of her like looking at it, doing
that's commitment. Honestly, that Kelly needs a raise for doing that on vacation.
And also, like, that's one thing I also love is that we have that certified admin program now where you can go in and you can get fully trained. And the woman who built that program, Danielle Combs, is like employee number 3 or 4. She's amazing.
She's legit.
And you can go in and you can teach yourself ServiceTitan. So like, that's my biggest advice to anyone who's getting on the platform. Like, dedicate someone on your team. It's probably not going to be you if you're the owner, because you got a lot of things to think about to really own that platform. And I think it's going to pay off truly if you do that.
Love it. I love that. So going back to your podcast, you said 160 episodes.
Yes.
Well, she also said some weren't having fun. You said some of your guests weren't having fun.
Did I?
Yes.
You meant in the beginning of ServiceTitan social media. When
Oh, no. ServiceTitan social media. Some
Oh,
people
I thought you were saying some of the
No,
you tend to interview people that are successful, although
Yes.
you've had some that weren't having fun.
When I was doing social media. No, truly, one of my earliest things when I was launching the podcast, I would go on masterminds and I would go on some of the other groups and I would see people who were like crap talking ServiceTitan. I'd be like, hey, can I talk to you for an hour? I'll give you a $100 Amazon gift card. And they were like, yeah.
Oh, that's
and I would just say
hilarious.
like, hey, tell me, what do you hate about ServiceTitan? And what's funny is that some of those people that I interviewed a few years ago are now ServiceTitan customers.
Oh yeah.
You know,
All roads lead to
ServiceTitan. You're a
ServiceTitan.
gem for ServiceTitan. I think
Thank you.
they know that, but having someone like you to represent them in so many different ways, that's like something that's invaluable. Like you can't even put a value on that. So
Oh, well, I'll thank you for that clip. I will send that. I'll attach it to my review.
yes. We'll
5
send it
stars.
for you.
5 stars.
Okay, so, but on your podcast,
Yes.
160 some episodes, what do you think, and you might have to think about it for a second, was the most impactful episode to you?
Ooh, okay. I have a couple answers. There's a couple different ones, honestly. The one that comes to mind, and this is our most popular episode, I had a concept I launched last year called The Day I Almost Quit the Trades, which was...
Oh, that's good.
Because, like, let's be real, there's a lot of folks online who love to talk about how great their business is doing and use a bunch of different emojis and, like, talk about success and growth, and it's just positive. And, you know, in therapy or in mental health world, there's this thing called toxic positivity, right? Have you guys
I
familiar
love
with that?
this, yes.
It's when, you know, you're saying, say you're having a bad day, you go to someone and you're like, oh, I'm really struggling today. And they're like, well, just look on the bright side. It's like, screw your bright side. Like, I'm just here to vent and like talk.
Right.
And so I was like, what if I take some of these people in the trades who are, like, for all intents and purposes, killing it, who are bragging on social media, and I asked them about the days that they almost stopped. And so Ishmael Valdez from Next Gen, who, as we know, is very vocal on the socials, I was like, hey, I want to interview you about the day I almost quit the trades. Are you down? He's like, I am so down. And he
I love that.
He talked to me truly about how, like, he was on the brink of bankruptcy. He was an alcoholic. He was like, and no one knew that I was struggling because I just had this. I would come into the office, be like, hey guys, you ready to crush it? And then I'd lock myself in my office and I would just be like, how am I going to make payroll?
What are we going to do?
Exactly.
Man.
Those stories have to, I get so
I feel that
emotional.
deeply.
Those stories have to be, I am very, because I think, like, I personally, like, we're very early in the morning here at AHR, but anyone who's listening to us, if you guys are running your own business in any capacity, mad respect for you. Truly. It's, I think, one of the biggest leaps of faith you can take. Just the pressure on yourself and your livelihood, on the livelihood of those that you employ, is so massive. And to ignore that weight is, like, you can't. And so as someone who's really passionate about mental health, I want to talk about that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And
And I want to hear about it because nobody talks about it.
yeah.
Yes, and it's so heavy. It's so heavy because we have an episode that's out where we were talking to Texas Medley. Love him.
I love Texas.
Love Texas, which,
He's
by
so
the way,
funny.
his name's Texas.
Texas Medley, what a name.
Or is it Brad?
It's Justin.
Okay.
It's Justin
We learned that.
Texas Medley. But I have been friends with this dude. Oscar and I have been friends. I consider this guy my brother, basically, right?
awesome.
And it was always like, my name's Texas. Well, then he posts that he's going back to college and his first name's Justin. And I was like,
Who are
might as well be
you?
dead to me at this point. Like, what? His name's, and so now I call him Brad. Like, he calls me all, I'm like, whatever, Brad. Like, you can be whoever you want to be at this point. But anyways,
That was a good show.
We asked him, like, if you could do this again, would you?
would
And
you
look,
do
I'm
it?
gonna cry. Like, and he said, I don't think I would. And it was so, like, in that when we were recording, I was like, oh my God.
That's real talk.
And he's like, it's robbed so much from us. And it has,
Yeah.
and people, I don't ever, I've been public about saying, like, through our growth, I have not always done things right.
Sure.
I have, like, people are like, I'm leaving to go start my own company, and I've been a hothead and like, whatever, Now I'm on the other side of it. It's just like, good luck, but can I talk to you first?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to shoot anyone's dreams down. Please
Right.
understand that. This is the hardest thing we've ever done.
Yep.
Nothing is easy about it. We have almost lost it all. in 2018, I had a full nervous breakdown. I haven't talked about on the podcast very often, like to the point that Oscar and Kelly had to like take me home, lay weighted blankets on me. My skin, you couldn't touch me. My nerves were so shot. I literally thought, this is it. Just put me away because I can't handle it. It's so hard. And then, now we have we average between 55, 60 employees, and they're all humans that are processing life. Oscar always says, no one told me that I would be an adult personality analyst as an owner. And that's true because we're always navigating what an employee's going through, how they're feeling, what's happening. And sometimes that's even over on top of the daily business. Yeah. And it's hard, it's rough. And no one talks about those things. It's just like, oh, well, they're going on trips and they have this money and they have this and that. And it's like, okay, but no, sometimes it's on a credit card, bro. Like there's not just like this endless bank account that's sitting there,
And sometimes you're doing that so you can make it another month.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a mental break.
We had to step away. And so in talking about, I love that.
The day I almost quit the trades, we also did it with Tommy Mello too, because he was like 50 grand in debt at one point too. And then Al Levy came in and was like, I could have taken that machine and stolen all of that, just so you know.
Yeah.
And basically
I listened to that webinar with Tommy and Al.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
Tommy, they're very cute. You know the Muppets? What are the Muppets? The two old guys like that are always in the theater? That's how Tommy and Al are together.
Tommy is
That's hilarious.
a good, I love listening to him and I love his story because he reminds me of like just a normal dude, he could be my brother. And he's so like, I don't know, he's just like, knowing his story too, like he was landscaping first, then he went into the garage doors, and then
I was listening to a real estate podcast, and he was on it, and I was like, wait a second, my worlds are colliding here.
I know, it's funny.
He's just so smart.
He's so humble.
Yeah.
But then we did a interview for a social media position actually before we hired our now social media manager, and the guy came in and he was talking and he was like, yeah, I follow Tommy Mello, and I'm like, what are you talking about right now? Because to me, Tommy Mello is just a dude like we know
in our space,
and but we know him, and he's so well known to other people and he's made but if you see him, like he's like walking around in his flip-flops and loving on his dog, and like his dog is like the best thing ever for him. He's just so normal.
He is really normal.
I think we put like those images of people successful like that as like they've got to look and behave like, I was going to say Donald Trump, bad example, but like someone like a
celebrity.
There's like a persona, right?
There's a persona of a success, of like a business suit and we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton.
Love that for you.
Love that. But listen, I'm pretty bougie. We stayed there because it was $200 a night. Everyone was like, what? I know. I was like, listen, we paid more for a cheap hotel in Oklahoma City, and we got in on a good deal. Leslie kept going, how'd we even get this price? I don't know. But when we were leaving, with all the people, they, business suits, briefcase, whatever. That's what we have always defined as success. And then we have these tradespeople like Ish, Tom Howard, right? That you're like, okay, he's got a flat bill hat on, walking around in flip-flops, like it doesn't have to, success isn't a briefcase and a
No.
That's what I love about our space too. It's just
that's what I love about it too.
There's not a lot of suits. You know what I'm saying?
I know. And so in Tommy's episode, he talked about having ADHD, and true story, after we recorded that, I got diagnosed with ADHD. Do you guys have it too?
Yes, me.
Oh,
See me over here? Like, listen, I all the time, and I forgot to tell you, I have ADHD. Oscar was giving me my medicine right before, and he said, and it was in our suitcase, and he was like, I got to get it or she's going to be flibberty-gibbeting around everywhere.
You know what? I learned about ADHD, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I do. It's the ADHD shuffle. Like when you don't take your medication and you're just shuffling from one room to the next. You're like, where's this? Where's this? Where's this?
Yep.
And I have my phone because I have my show notes.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
If I don't, all the time. And I noticed that you have a notepad. And probably like me, like I'll have.
But there's nothing on your notepad, Jackie.
Well, it's only because
it's all in your brain.
Oh, well, I did take my Adderall this morning.
I got my Vyvanse too.
We're all the same.
Vyvanse gang, Adderall gang.
Right. I will have a notepad, or I'll have something to where if I have a thought while you're speaking, I need to write it.
Same. That's why I have it.
At least the one word down, so I can come back to it.
Yep. Same thing. Same thing.
You know that speaking of that, and I learned when I got diagnosed with ADHD, which was, I'm 38, so about 3 years ago, I have been on an antidepressant or an anxiety medicine since I was 16 years old, right?
And was it because you
and
were...
it was not because I was depressed. It was because I was ADHD. And the doctor said, you were misdiagnosed. You've always had ADHD. But when I was a kid, when I was 16, they didn't believe that women could have ADHD.
Well, it presents itself differently than in males.
Yep. They said it was just boys.
Yeah.
Boys had ADHD. And it was like very rare. Like you'll come across a woman my age that's like, oh, I've been on ADHD medicine since this age. Most of the time, no, they were on Zoloft or something for depression, and they weren't depressed, because people would always say, well, why are you depressed? Why? And I'm like, I don't think I'm actually depressed. Now I do have anxiety.
Yep.
And I got to keep that under control. But yeah, it's crazy how that's...
Yeah, I got diagnosed because when I went through my master's program, I learned all about different things. I learned all about addiction. I learned all about depression, anxiety, and also really interesting, like Ishmael's like, I'm sober. I'm now on a sober journey myself.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What led to
days.
that?
I love the
Thank
62
you.
days.
62 days.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And so Ish was telling me like, yeah, me and a bunch of these guys, like I think Tommy's on it too now, that we're all just like not drinking anymore. And so like going through that master's program, actually, it wasn't just helping me become a better interviewer, potentially being a therapist one day, but it was also like therapy on steroids for me, because I got to kind of see this other view of things and like kind of look like, oh, that kind of sounds like me. It was really interesting. Abnormal psych was such a trip for me. I was like, I got everything. I got OCD. I got bipolar.
Have you had to replace it with anything? Like, are you doing any mocktails or anything?
I love Desoi. It's called DESOI. It's a little expensive. Katy Perry's the brand rep, but it's like kind of a kombucha-y wine cooler that has adaptogens in it. It might just be bullcrap, but it's delicious.
Right.
I love marketing.
Also, Athletic Brewing is the best NA beer ever. It's truly like if you like beer, if I gave you an Athletic, you'd be like, oh my God, this is delicious.
What have you noticed the most since you stopped drinking? Like about yourself? What have you learned about yourself?
One, I get much better sleep.
Yes.
But also it's much easier to regulate my emotions
Yes.
all the time. Not just like truly, I'm more even keeled, not drinking. I'm less brain fog, which is really big. And I cannot.
The sleep is the biggest.
And I really have to say, so like obviously in my education, I learned about AA, Smart Recovery. There's another one that's a little bit more Buddhist, but all these different AA programs that exist to help people abstain from alcohol. That wasn't my jam. And it isn't a jam for a lot of people.
Right.
There is, I don't know if you guys are big Redditors, but there is a subreddit called Stop Drinking, Stop Drinking. And it is the most wholesome place on the internet. Truly, like every day you have people do a check-in and people are sharing stories. And it's like some of the most wholesome, supportive place I've ever been. And like for the record, if people like knew me as someone who consumed alcohol, you wouldn't think I had any type of problem. Like I was, I drank the way that my peers drank, which was binge drinking, like, 3-4 times a month essentially. But also with medication, I'm like, I'm literally taking medication to regulate my hormone levels, to regulate my neurotransmitters. And by drinking, I'm literally counteracting that.
Right. Because it causes anxiety over time.
It's a depressant.
Yeah.
And like, listen, no shade. Like everyone has to make the right choice for their own body. I'm not here to like say like you should be sober. I'm just telling you it's working for me really well. And I'm excited to see what it's like in 90 days and 100 days and a year from now. So.
Okay, so I love that. We at AHR only have a certain amount of time, and so we've got about 5 minutes, but I have one more question for you, because this is your question at the end, and so hopefully you've already thought about this.
Did she know about this question ahead of time?
I may have retired this question, but I've been thinking about bringing it back into the loop, so you can give it to me.
What if there was a song for the soundtrack of your life?
Oh my gosh.
What is it?
I think so. There's two answers to this. The serious answer is from a band called Foxy Shazam. Oh, no recognition from the audience. No. Yeah, that makes sense.
Never heard of them.
It's a song called "Killin' It." Oh. It is just fantastic.
Like
Foxy Shazam is a great band. If you liked Queen, the lead singer, incredible vocal range. It's very like powery, like punk, a little bit more alt rock. Highly recommend Foxy Shazam. My funny answer is Bo Burnham's White Woman Instagram. I don't know if you guys watched Bo Burnham's Inside special on Netflix.
I'm going to look both of these up.
But he has a song called White Woman's Instagram, which is truly just like, there's a lyric in the song about fairy lights the first time I watched this, and I was literally watching it with my fairy lights on. I'm like...
Literally, so like the title alone tells me I've got to go listen to it.
I know.
The
And
special's
then
amazing.
knowing your social media, your personal social media,
I love
I'm
it.
totally going to listen to this.
You have Bo Burnham Inside on Netflix. It's one of the best, most inventive comedy specials. It's a bit of a downer because it's got a bit of a COVID vibe to it, but I cannot recommend it enough. Yeah.
Well, it was.
This has been amazing.
Such a pleasure to catch you this morning. Thanks for.
We've tried to catch you for a while now.
I know. I'm so happy we were able to do this in person.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
We'll do it again too.
I have to have you guys back on Toolbox so this way we can do some cross promo for.
And I want to talk about the day I almost quit the trades, because I
would
could talk
love
about that all day long.
Yes.
Like that is my jam. Everything mental health. Like we have been through it. We continue to go through it. So I love that you're doing that, because I really feel like, especially the industry being so male dominated, and there's not like a safe space a lot of times for men to talk about their emotions. Like I love that you're doing that.
Yeah,
and
we have
advocating
to.
for that,
Yeah,
and that you're having such big names talk about it. And leading by representation.
Important.
Yes.
Yeah, because it does. We do get a little toxic with the positivity.
Yes.
Sure.
I can go
I really
both
love
ways.
that you guys are doing that.
I
It's
can
awesome.
go both ways. Like I can be really positive, or I can just be like, no, hell no. This is not what is happening. Quit creating false hope or false or fear or whatever, and it's like, let's just talk about hard facts,
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you ladies so much for having me. I have to tell you, I was overjoyed when I found out you two were working together on this podcast.
Yes.
I love it. I love seeing more women.
It's our
in
year
podcasting.
anniversary.
This is our year. Yeah, we
We went live with our first episode at AHR last year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so excited for you guys. I can't wait to see where the podcast goes next. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple, and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.